everyone. This is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today we are going live because it is National Ghost Hunting Day, one of my favorite days of the whole year. I love National Ghost Hunting Day. I think probably the thing I love about it is because I love ghosts, just ghosts in general. They have the most amazing stories, the most amazing energy, and a lot of people don't always appreciate them. A lot of times, people are really afraid of ghosts, and I think that's kind of not bad in a way. It's one of those. It's nice to have a healthy relationship with them, but it's one of those. A lot of times they're just like us, and I often feel like that they have like the same energy that we do. Like we all want to know that we're important. We all want to know that we've made a difference in our world. We want to know that we've made our mark. We've done something special or different. So that's kind of like the really cool part for us. So I also do have my angel cards with me. So if you have a psychic question, you can always post your psychic question. If I'm drawn to it, I will pull a card and answer your question, but that's up to you. Like, what's your question? What is your question? I always think that's an interesting one. But let's talk about National Ghost Hunting Day. And I always think it's interesting that it's the very end of September and not really in October, because you would think that'd be like the best days. But that's kind of one of the things we're going to talk about. So if you have any ghost hunting questions or ghost hunting ideas or things that have happened to you, just let me know. I love that part. And I will answer them the best I can, kind of like dealing with as much as I possibly can for you guys. I think that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Okay. So if y'all have any questions, angel card or otherwise, let me know. I will do that. But one of the things that I think is most important to understand about most ghosts is that they really do have like a desire, just like we do. Everybody wants to hear that you were important or that you made a difference in someone's lives. And I think that's kind of the interesting part. And a lot of times that's what they come through with, is this amazing energy of like, my life was this way. I think I get that more from soldiers that have passed, kind of like telling me like, I lived here, I did this, I went here, all of those things. So that's kind of like an interesting one, especially when they're from like, World War I or World War II, something that was a while back, because our lives are not the same at all compared to what they have. So like what we live now. So that's kind of one of those like interesting. But and they kind of have like two types of messages. Some of them are kind of like more personal. I wanted to tell you about me, or it could be like, I want to tell you what I found over here. I want to tell you what is here, or how's this happening, or whatever it is. So that's kind of like one of those like, yeah, I'll bring this on. Let's bring this. That can be a really kind of like interesting one. Now, I myself deal with ghosts a lot. It's just something that I deal with my business, being a psychic. I have people in and out all the time. I've had several in the last few months that are quite interesting. Hello, Miss Kathy. Like, I think that's kind of one of those interesting ones when you have clients that come in and like their family members, like what is the message that their family members have for them? What is the message that they're trying to convey or get across? So that can be an interesting one. And I've had all kinds of messages from the other side of, sometimes it's just, I love you and I miss you and that sort of thing. Sometimes it's, I need to tell you about the will, or I need to tell you about this. I did have a client a couple of years ago that was really funny. Her grandmother had hidden her jewelry, not only her like kind of like play jewelry or whatever else, like not really the good stuff, but she also hid the good stuff, like the really important, like been in the family for a long period of time and that sort of thing. And her uncle, my client's uncle, was about to demolish the house and kind of get, like deal with this in a different way. So she was just like, I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to like deal with this kind of energy, and I don't know kind of like what to say to him to kind of get him to like let us go through the house one more time. And so that was kind of like, interesting. So she finally got him to commit to letting them go through the house, and they were all like super nervous about like, what is he gonna, like what are we gonna get? Hey, Miss Sharon. Kind of that sort of thing. And it was kind of an interesting one because her grandmother was like, didn't want the jewelry to be destroyed with the house or someone else to find it. So that was kind of one of those like, okay, when you walk in the house with the door right behind you, go to the right and then go through this room where there's, and I was like, there's a whole bunch of chairs. She goes, that's the dining room. Okay. And then go through this room and, oh yeah, that's this room. Okay. We keep going and going. And I'm literally looking at what the grandmother is telling me by what the grandmother is showing me, kind of like where to go. And literally we found the jewelry, kind of like up under like the hidden compartment of like where you would fix your tub, kind of like if you had a leak in your tub or faucet or whatever else. It was kind of fun, but I've had several of those where people will. Family members will be like, I've hidden this, or no one knows where the will is. It's hidden in this part, or nobody knows, where this is or where that is. So that's can be really like, okay, like that's where this goes. That's where we need to put this in. But ghost hunting is one of my absolute favorite things to do. If I possibly can, whenever I'm out, I will go to kind of cemeteries. I will just stop in and kind of like walk around, and who wants to talk or who wants to give me some information. So that can be really fun and exciting. But I'll do that anytime, usually by myself, because my family members think it's kind of like boring. Not to me. I absolutely love it. But I will tell you, there is kind of a lot of people that do ghost tours, that literally, bring in a lot of technology, which is kind of interesting. So they'll have like EMF readers. They will have different types of cameras that will show images or pictures and stuff like that. So I always think it's kind of like interesting, because I personally don't need any of that. That's kind of like, I don't need any of that. I don't need any of that stuff at all. So that can be kind of like an interesting part. So if y'all are joining in, and y'all have a question, ask me your question. I will answer your question as best I can. I've got my angel cards, and really kind of angel cards can also connect with ghost on the other side. But if you want to, a question, and Sharon is like, take me to the cemetery. I don't think it's boring. I think it's like really cool, especially when you go past like the headstones and like what people wrote on there. I think that's like really cool. It's kind of like it gives you like a different insight into that type of energy. But when people use like super base technology, EMF readers, thermal readers, all that kind of stuff, it's not that it's bad. It's just not what I do. It's not how I connect in. To me, I find like it slows me down. And so I'm looking at the technology instead of looking at where I need to be looking or what I should be looking at, that sort of thing. So it kind of can, for me, be a distraction. That can just be kind of like, interesting. But I do as a psychic, when I walk into a place, I will open up my energy slowly, and I will try to communicate with a few ghosts at a time, like not too many at a time, because then it's kind of like they'll rush your energy. But a lot of times I just enjoy doing that. I love just connecting in with them, connecting to their energy. What do they have to tell me? Tell me about their lives, how they passed, whatever is important. One of the things, I was talking to a client the other day, and her husband's passed, but then her husband's dad has also passed. And so they kind of came in kind of like combined energy together, which is kind of like interesting. But it's like how they passed was how we differentiated, like how each of them were communicating, because they had a very similar-ish energy. And so that was kind of like, okay, which one passed like this? Which one passed like that? I have personally felt thousands of death. It's one of those, I do not feel it to the extent that the ghost did. I feel it to an extent of like, just, I can explain like, it's hard to breathe. I feel like my throat is closing, or my heart's beating out of its chest, or whatever it is. So I can feel parts of what they went through before they passed. I can even tell you, like this, like where it hurts in their body. One a ghost that I had not too long ago, I thought that was freaking hilarious. When he was younger, he used to tap dance, and he used to tap dance in, like, literally, I think he passed in World War II. But when in the 1920s, when he was like 19, 20 years old kind of thing, like he would tap dance on stage as like part of a performance. And then when he went to World War II, part of his leg was shot off and that sort of thing. So he like was on crutches the rest of his life. And he was like, all I ever wanted to do was go back and dance. And that was one of the things that he loved to do, is the whole time I'm talking to him, he's like tap dancing, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of like, yay. He didn't even realize like his leg had been replaced after all these years, even like 70, 80 years after World War II, had not realized that he was, still in that energy. But I kind of love doing that. I love connecting to their energy. I love connecting to what's going on with their energy. I think one of the places that I have found that is kind of like really overwhelming. So let's talk about overwhelming energy. Hospitals, totally overwhelming. That can be over, like just hospitals in general can be overwhelming. Of course, sanitariums and that sort of thing can be overwhelming as well. Any place that people are like stuck in their energy, stuck, and it's kind of like things get like the energy gets stuck in the room. That's kind of can be a little bit crazy. I kind of think like, how do we deal with that part? Any place that's like an office building or something like that, like energy can be stuck, or what was underneath the ground. So before they built that building, what was there? So a lot of times, like people only think of like the building, like the foundation up this way, but a lot of times like the energy can be like from the foundation down. So that can be overwhelming as well. Kind of like, okay, what is this energy? But I love that part. It's one of those, like I said, it's kind of the cool part of what was there prior to where they're at. I had a client a couple of years ago, and in the middle of the night, she kept hearing noises. She would hear the sound like rushing water, and she was like, "There's no water leaking in the house." Every night I check, it's not. There's nothing with that, but she would hear like someone stumbling around, and it was kind of like, okay. And so as I'm cleansing her house out, I started to realize where she lived at was a farmland. And so she was like, there shouldn't be anybody here. It was like, this was like pasture land where I'm living. And I was like, yeah, but the barn wasn't too far away. And this cow was literally, when the river, because it's really right on the river, flooded one time, this cow kind of got like pushed by the water. And so it's like reliving this past life over and over and over again and getting shoved into things. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. That's kind of like a different energy. You're kind of like, okay, I never thought of it that way. Like this ghost is literally just, tromping through her living room and gets pushed by the water and falls into things. So it's kind of like, interesting. That's kind of one of those fun ones. I love the hearts, ladies. Thank y'all so much. Love the hearts. If you have any questions about ghosts, I love talking about ghosts. It's kind of my thing. Being a psychic medium, I kind of like talk about ghosts a lot. But if you have any questions, like how to do something or how to clear out stuff or how to get into contact with the ghost, one of the things that I think is really kind of an interesting one is a lot of times, and I have clients that will reach out to me and like, my son is passed or my husband's passed or my daughter's passed or whatever it is. And they will ask me like, how do I connect with them? And that's kind of one of the downfalls of being a psychic medium is a lot of times you are not able to connect with your family members. That's just kind of one of those weird ones. It's kind of like, otherwise you would be stuck in this relationship with your grandmother or grandfather or mom or dad or whatever it is and talking to them, but you wouldn't really necessarily like do anything else. It's like, I'm missing them and all I want to do is connect with them. So that's what I want to do. That can be a pretty harsh one because I have so many people are like, I want to talk to them one more time. And a lot of times until you get past a certain stage, they just won't be able to come in and leave you any kind of message in that perspective. So that's just kind of like, it sucks, that part. For me, it would be my grandmother to talk to. My grandfather always talked about his family and that sort of thing. And then, okay, hold on. I got a question over here and I'm trying to read it. Okay. So gloom. What is this guy, James? I'm not really understanding your question. If you could ask it in a different way, Bloom, I'm trying to get what you're trying to ask me. I'm not really sure if you're asking about the relationship itself or him in energy. So it's kind of like that sort of thing. But definitely ask a question. I will definitely answer it because I'm not really getting, and maybe it's his girlfriend that I'm not getting, like just a first name. I don't need a whole explanation of like who you need to talk to. So what were you talking about? We were talking about something. Ghost. Okay. This is Cam. Um, are Justin and I over for good? We've had no. Carol is okay. So Cam is asking, are Justin and I over for good? I kind of get a yes. That doesn't mean it's 100% um, like a good relationship. And it's not really good for you, which is kind of an interesting one that you're asking about it. So let me ask about Cam. This is like answered prayers. This is not the relationship that you wanted. It's not the relationship that you desired to have at any point. That just kind of like gets a little overwhelming. But it's not really the relationship. Like you're remembering it a much better way off than it really was. So it's one of those, it's not the best relationship for you. The other one is, okay, gloom, tongue tied tonight, is he happy in his current relationship? I do get at parts he's really happy about it, but I also feel like there's a lot of jealousy in that relationship. So that can be a little bit like harsh. This is the card that I get for that relationship, that it's like not in harmony as much as he might like it to be or want it to be. So that's just kind of like the crazy part about it. Okay. So that's just kind of like the crazy part of it is like there's a disharmony or things that are not flowing in that relationship. So that can be a bit harsh in that area. But one of the things I love connecting with ghosts is I love getting their personal stories of like who they are, what they did, how they did things. And I've had some celebrities come in and give me some messages. So that can be kind of like a fun one, or people that were not necessarily celebrities for the world, but celebrities like in my hometown or whatever else. So that can kind of be a little bit like kind of crazy. One of the things that I think is really interesting, there's a lot of shows on TV and the internet and TikTok and YouTube and all kinds of stuff where people always talk about like they want to get something from a ghost, like they want to connect with a ghost, but a lot of times like they will go into like intimidation mode, like I need to intimidate you, this ghost, to talk to me, and that's not always right. Because I think it's also kind of funny because they'll be like, give me a sign that you're here. Give me a sign that you're here. And then as soon as they do, they freak out over it. It's like, okay, but you were asking for that. It's like you were asking for chocolate ice cream, chocolate ice cream, chocolate ice cream. And then when you finally get it, you're freaking out that you got it. It's like, what? Like crazy. So I think that's kind of one of those like weird energies in that perspective. But there are a lot of people that love going to different locations. Now, I love doing my ghost tour at the Galvez. It's one of my absolute favorite places to go to because there are so many ghosts of different eras, different energies. Some employees, some people that didn't work there, that were just guests. I love going to cemeteries. I love going to, I went to a couple of months ago, I went to one of the older cemeteries in Houston. That was totally fun, like totally outrageously fun to go and do that. And sometimes you can see them on the videos. This past weekend we went to San Antonio, my husband and I, and we stayed on the Riverwalk. Well, the Riverwalk wasn't always a Riverwalk. It used to just be like, just part of like what was going on there. And it was really close to the Alamo. And so there's people that from the Alamo that died or in that area. But that's kind of one of the interesting parts when you go to places like that. Now in San Antonio, when we were there, we were having such a great time, but our hotel was haunted. And we stayed in a hotel that used to be, I think it's like a Catholic or religious boys school. And so that was kind of fun. I posted a video on that, I think on both channels. That was kind of an interesting one where that was kind of like part of what was going on is there were some younger children kind of like hanging around. One of them, one night I woke up, went to the bathroom. I always have to pee in the middle of the night, just my thing. I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and it was kind of an interesting kind of part with this is that I laid back down in bed And just like a little kid would do, like he literally poked his finger, like literally on my side, like poke. And I kind of like rolled over and kind of was like, I'm going to bed. And he was like, sorry. And I was like, if you wanted to talk, that was like an hour ago. Now I'm ready to lay down and go to bed and not deal with any of this. But that's kind of the energy of like when people pass, especially people that have a lot of energy when they pass, like if they're really frightened or afraid or scared, um, uh, especially if they're murdered, that's kind of like their energy will stay in that area for a longer period of time. There can be some that kind of connect in different ways to our energy and kind of like bringing this up over and over and over again. Kind of like, what did you do in your past life? Yeah, that's a crazy answer. That's kind of like, oh, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see from there. Um, I do always enjoy going to different locations where they're at. The Riverwalk in San Antonio is just one where you're going to find a lot of ghosts from a lot of different eras, that sort of thing. Some of them as far back, even like the Indians from that area from like, 1400s on, before that. And then you'll talk about like different people from like Mexico, Indians, all, saying like kind of moving through that land because it's a river. So people who are traveling are going to be looking for that river to get water and stay there for a day or two and then head on somewhere else. And then you kind of get into more of like the Texicans coming to that area and kind of like connecting with that. So that's always like an interesting one. But just if y'all have any questions, any psychical questions, you can ask me. I will do that as well as we're talking about ghosts. But I love that area. Now, we went to the Spanish governor's palace while we were there, and that was really like a really fun one. That was just kind of like an interesting energy to kind of like what's there. I did not see the little girl this time. I saw the little girl last time we were there, peeping out the window. I did not see her this time. Actually, I felt a lot of energy kind of like behind in like the garden behind the building, kind of like at the private spaces there. So that was kind of like, not really finding the energy in the house, but that can also be the time of day that you go, that sort of thing. Let me see. Is there any other? Oh, I went to a brand new cave. Like most people have seen. Okay, no, I thought that was a question. I thought it was a question, but it's not a question. So we went to a cave, one like natural bridge caverns where a lot of people have been in. You're going to find a lot of energy in that space. But we went one that's in that same location, but a little bit different one that hasn't had a lot of people in it, hasn't been open, but maybe like a year and a half or 2 years. That was a very different experience with me because there wasn't any ghost. I was like, I've never been in a cave where there's no ghost. Like, well, hello. I was like, hello, where are the ghosts? Where are the crazy peoples? I need my peoples. Because I was like, I am not getting any like ghost activity. I'm not getting anything. The prior one to that I went to with a friend outside of Austin, we went to a cave. And there was a gentleman in the cave when they were kind of clearing it out and getting it ready for people to kind of be able to come in and tour. He had a heart attack in there, so I could feel that in there. They also had a dance floor in there, so a lot of people were really excited. I walked through someone's energy that had gotten engaged down there, so that was kind of fun. But a lot of times, like anytime there's a lot of energy, you're going to feel that get kind of stuck in the space. So that was kind of like an interesting like side note as well. But to be in a cave that had really no other people energy to it, it was kind of like it's kind of like going into a void. It was just like, I don't know how to do this. I think one of my favorite places that we went to on a ghost tour was the Winchester Mystery House in California. That was a very interesting one that we went to. Let's see. We went in, I think it's Missouri or Kansas and everything else. There's the Slanted House. I don't remember where that one is. We went to the Slanted House where it's just kind of like a vortex of energy. So it's like, it just like keeps moving and manipulating the energy around it. So that was always like, it's not really a ghostly one. It's just kind of more like a vortex energy. I would say Gettysburg is probably the most haunted place I've ever been because there's so many ghosts. Like, oh my gosh, there are so many ghosts. And a lot of them don't realize that they passed. That's kind of the one that's like, wow, I can't do that. I did have a new client that wanted me to go visit. Um, she has a relative in a prison. I know the things you get invited to do as a as someone who can talk to ghosts. She wanted me to go to a prison with her to visit her uncle because they were trying to figure out some stuff in the family history of kind of like when things happened and that sort of thing. And he's the oldest person in the family that's still alive, that still, I'm saying, can communicate really well. So they were trying to kind of get that energy of kind of like, where is he at, what is he doing, that sort of thing. And that was something that they were really not able to kind of connect into. And kind of like going to a prison, I was like, and it's one that they have killed people at. So I was like, I really don't want to go. They are making arrangements so we can go. So sometime in October, November timeframe, I'll be going to a prison for the first time. So that's kind of like one of those like, okay, like let's try that. But I'm gonna ask you guys, like, so where is the most haunted place you've ever been? What is the most haunted place you've ever been, or the craziest place you've seen ghosts? Now, the other one I've been to is Chaco Canyon. It's a Native American ceremony, kind of like near Four Corners. So that's kind of one of the places I love going. The energy is there, very nice. And there's a lot of ghosts there because there's been Native Americans living on that land for thousands of years. So that's kind of like an interesting one. And to get into their ceremonial circles can be a really interesting energy as well. But then they also have, dun, 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 aliens, one of my favorite. They have a lot of alien energy there, and a lot of alien energy coming in and out. And they also have like cave art with all of that. So that's kind of like interesting. I like aliens. They're kind of fun, kind of exciting, and something different. But they alien energy is absolutely different from ghost energy. They're not the same in any way, shape, or form. So just so you know, they're not the same. They're not the same. Let's see. Anybody who's been to someplace really, really haunted. I had a client that wanted me to go to an insane asylum in Tennessee for a while, and I did not get to go. Just weren't able to kind of like get my schedule and her schedule kind of lined up at the same time. So that can be kind of interesting. Now, I will say that Charleston, South Carolina was a very haunted place, and there's tons of energy where it's kind of like layered over and over and over again with like so much energy. But I also feel the same way about like Italy. Going to Rome is like crazy, just like layer upon layer of energy. I did think Pompeii had a lot of like crazy energy as well. So that was kind of like a really fun one that I enjoyed going to, but it kind of goes well. I often tell people, like, when you are getting ready to go on a ghost hunting thing, there's a couple of things to kind of like get ready for, or kind of get prepared in some way, and kind of like getting ready. Make sure that you have some type of protective necklace on, bracelet, or whatever else that you can do to kind of keep the energy off you. I always tell people, make sure that you go with some type of energy spray so you can remove the energy from you before you take them home with you, and get in the car with you and take you home. That kind of stuff. Like taking a ghost home, not so much fun. It's just not so much fun. Especially if you're like afraid of energy, or you're afraid of them staying with you. I am usually not afraid of that, so I'm kind of used to it. But I have had some very crazy energy. Washington, D.C., I will say, is another place that had a lot of really overwhelming kind of crazy energy. So that was just one of those like, okay, this is kind of crazy. We're getting close to the half hour. So if anybody has any psychical questions, you can ask your question. I think that's kind of a fun one. I don't know what happened to YouTube. I don't know if it's still live or not. I hope it's still live. But if y'all have any questions, you can ask me. I will pull out my angel cards and get the messages for you. But I love going to places that are haunted, and desiring to connect with ghost energy, and kind of find out about like what happened there, or how it happened there. Kathy's saying, Yes, Kathy. What should I do? I have, so what should I have with you? I will say, kind of one of the, when you go to Jerome, Jerome is amazing energy and they have tons of rock shops. So I'd be like, get some good rocks there. I will say something that's like very protective. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite stones and everything else. This one's, the nickname is the psychic stone. It'll come to me. It's called labradorite. It has like a very pretty depth to the stone. Now this one is like way too big, too heavy to wear on a necklace. But I will say this is a really good one. You can find them in different ones. I have like bracelets on. So you want to make sure, if you have, she's already saying like, I've got one of these. So you want to make sure that you cleanse it before you take it with you. So you want to put it on a charging plate or cleanse it and take it with you. Like I said, you could have it as a necklace, you could have it as earrings, you could have it as a bracelet, whatever it is, and that will help kind of keep that energy off of you. And then also make sure that you are using some type of release spray afterwards, some type of release energy spray. That could be like Palo Santo, that could be some type of sage, that sort of thing. You want to like clear that energy off of you as quickly as you can. But as if you go to Jerome, not too far away is it'll come to me in a second. Where they have a lot of vortex energy, and that can be overwhelming as well. There's ghosts there, but they're not really as strong as the vortex. The vortexes are like way stronger, kind of like that's kind of that crazy energy, and so that can be a little overwhelming when you go to someplace like that. Yeah, Sedona, she got it. She got it. Sedona. Sedona is a place that I've been to a couple of times, and it is amazing. I think some of the stuff that a lot of people get afraid about is they get kind of like, I don't want to go to some place because I'm afraid I'm going to come home with the ghost. If you're prepared, you're not going to have to worry about that sort of thing. So making sure that your necklaces or whatever you're going to be wearing for that event are like cleansed and ready to go. Making sure you have some type of release spray, kind of getting in that energy. And then I will say, I always take my own flashlight. Always take my own flashlight when I go on a ghost tour. If I'm leaving it or not, I want my own flashlight. Now, I will tell people kind of the best ones to do are a red light flashlight or a blue, because it'll give you, like without knocking out your night vision, it will really be able to kind of move around and get in that energy easier. And then always point it down towards the ground. That makes it kind of easier for everybody else. And then I always tell people, like, make sure you wear like a good sturdy tennis shoe. It doesn't have to be like a boot or anything like that, but something that you can move around in. Because a lot of times, like if the energy, like all of a sudden you have to feel like you move. If you're in flip flops, you can hurt yourself, that sort of thing. So that's just kind of one of those energies. If you have any psychic questions, let me know. I've got my angel cards, my favorite angel cards. But most ghosts have a neutral energy. They're not necessarily bad or good or anything like that. And a lot of them have like a very misunderstood energy. It's one of those, they really don't have a bad energy. They're not trying to hurt you or anything else. A lot of times they're just trying to give you information. But I think that kind of gets into like what your psychic abilities are. A lot of people are like, I want to see a ghost. But if your gift is not clairvoyant, you're not going to see them. You may feel them or whatever else. Okay, so I've got Kathy and Sharon coming up with, please pull a card for them. So let's see. Miss Sharon, I'm getting new love coming in, and I feel like this is a new connection for you, someone new and different coming in. And I also feel like this could be a love interest as well, but this could also be just a friend who is going through something similar or has some different energy than what you normally deal with, and kind of give you a different time frame, that sort of thing. For Kathy, what I'm getting is divine timing. Now, divine timing is all about literally a divine timing. And a lot of times, like people say, like, I'm ready to go. So, our divine timing is ready to go. A lot of times, like, you need to feel it. You will feel like that pull forward of like, this is where I need to go, or this is what I need to deal with, or this is what I need to happen next, and kind of wait for that to come in. And when you're on a ghost tour or anything like that with divine timing, make sure that you are like in that right energy and making sure that you feel good, and enjoying yourself on the ghost tour itself. If not, make sure you leave or get out. That's kind of the best way to put it. Kind of like, don't stay where it doesn't kind of like doesn't feel comfortable. Their energy can be overwhelming at times. I do have a client, and her dad, kind of an interesting one, was on death row for many years. He was murdered several people, and she wasn't trying to get in touch with like who he murdered or whatever else. This was her dad, and like her, got mom pregnant, but she never met him. Like, in her whole life, she never saw him or anything else. And then she found out he had passed on death row, but she had a lot of questions. So sometimes even the ghosts have a lot of energy that they come in with, and her dad is one of them. Her dad comes in with some really strong and almost heavy energy, but I also get that he had a really bad childhood. It doesn't mean that what he did was right or anything else. I'm just saying, like, it kind of like, okay, it kind of makes sense a little bit more. He was molested, he was hurt, he was injured, and that's kind of the only way he knew how to connect with other people in that way. So I was like, kind of the great part is that he was part of your life. He gave you life, and then he went on with what he was, other things that he, his life, I guess, is the best way to put it. So it's kind of like interesting. But a lot of times, ghosts come in, and their energy is not really heavy. There sometimes, if they went through something very traumatic, if they were raped, molested, murdered, beaten, abused, all that kind of stuff, their energy will stay heavy even on the other side. It will have like a deep heaviness to their energy, and can be very overwhelming to connect with their energy. So a lot of times when they start trying to connect with their family members, they're like almost like, no, stop, back up. And they're kind of overwhelming. She literally flies down from northern Texas to come and see me like once a month, because she's trying to figure out like her lineage and like family history and genealogy on her dad's side, to kind of like connect or kind of like understand the family history a little bit more. And like I said, if you have some really bad things that have happened in your past, that can connect over, especially if you never healed or worked through it while you're on earth, that can be very, very overwhelming. But does anybody have any ghost questions? Any place you want to tell me about? I love going to places. I've been to many, many, many places around here. I would love to go to the sugar factory because I live in Sugarland. I would love to go to the sugar factory and kind of go through the floors and kind of see what ghosts are there. I don't think I'll ever get a chance to do that until they hopefully open it up at some point. But I will say that's kind of one of those interesting energies. Like, I would love to do that one. But kind of the cool part is where my Sweet Sugarland Healing Fair is. It's at the Marriott in Town Center in Sugarland, October 26th, 2024, from 10 to 4. Like, the first several hours are all about the healing fair and kind of meeting my people that I work with. We're healing and that sort of thing. And then the last hour will be doing like a group reading there. So that'll be really fun. I also do have a lot of workshops that are coming up. A newsletter that's going to be going out on the 1st of October, talking about ghostly things and planetary energies. So that's always great. And if you're working on, this is a great time between the two eclipse energies to really work on like you. Now, if you want some of my best affirmations, if you put that in the chat, I will send you a link to my list of my best affirmations. I love affirmations, and they can really change your world in a lot of amazing ways. And so can connecting to ghosts, because they kind of give you a different insight, kind of like interesting. So that's what we've got coming up over the next few weeks. Literally in my October 1st newsletter, I will be doing I think like we'll be working on 3 psychic workshops between now and the end of the year. And then we're already working on some for January of next year. So I'm like getting really excited about what's about to happen, how the energy is changing and shifting. And I know a lot of people did not like that new moon. eclipse at all, and they were like, "This is crazy." I had my breakdown. I had it with everybody else. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is so much. But I often tell people, if you didn't have it then, you're going to have it with the one on October 2nd. That's going to be like, if you were going to break down at some point, you were going to have like one of those, just like, this is overwhelming. I'm getting overwhelmed. Um, kind of energies, just that's the way it is. That's, eclipses are meant to come in and changes. It's not meant to leave us the same. And if you remember, I did it, I think I did it on a Thursday Night Live, but I also did it in a video that I put out at the very beginning of September. And I said, who you are at the beginning of September is not who you're going to be at the end of September. It should change you. And that's kind of the cool part, that a lot of this is changing who we are, where we're going in our life, and not necessarily in bad ways, but sometimes we have to really be kicked in the head before we change our ideas or thinking. That's kind of the interesting part. I thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. I am so excited. I will be doing several Thursday Night Lives. I'll be next on, thank you, Miss Kathy. I will be on Facebook and Instagram next week. So that's kind of one of those, like, crazy loving. That is kind of fun. And I may do one, I'm kind of thinking I'll do one about dreams. I've had a lot of crazy people that have come in with some crazy, crazy dreams. And I'll be doing possibly some dream interpretations. Those are always like really fun to do. We still have Neptune in retrograde for quite a while. So that'll be fun. I thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. Y'all have a nice evening and a amazing National Ghost Hunting Day.